We're back with another Better Call Saul Yaps with Snax from PizzaDAO. How are you doing today, Snax?
I'm doing great. I am vibing so hard right now with these AI tools. Can't keep me away from my
Yeah,
prompt box.
no, I totally get that. I'm sure I mean, it's just the nuts how fast the technology is progressing nowadays. Yeah, I don't know if you want to share a little bit of what you're doing right now, or if you want to start by getting us a little bit of a background on Snacks. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you kind of came into the Web3 space.
Yeah, so I'm Dread Pizza Roberts at PizzaDAO. We're a global pizza co-op that throws a global pizza party every year on Bitcoin Pizza Day. We did it last year in 420 cities across 105 countries, but over 15,000 people came and shared pizza together all over the world same day. And that was our fifth. So we're about to do our sixth global pizza party on May 22nd. This year it's Friday. Super excited. And we've spent over 1 million on pizza. We're just getting started. So yeah, it's the number one food in the known universe, and it's a great way to bring the world together. But I came into this space long ago, not as early as when Laszlo bought his two pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin in 2010, but maybe like a year later in 2011, and I've been here ever since.
I love it. Do you want to share more about that? Like getting into PizzaDAO, starting that 6 year long, annual, this being the 6 year long annual kind of event. I know I was blessed enough to have an opportunity to just rock out one out here, a very small one for the first time out here in Maine, which was really fun. We did it at a library where honestly, half of the participants there were some of the librarians there that came down and wanted to learn more. But it was awesome because we chatted about blockchain, we chatted about, like you said, Laszlo and the Bitcoin pizzas. And it was just a good learning opportunity. It got me another opportunity to network there. So, yeah, no, I think there's a lot of fun kind of pieces and cultural moments that creates. But do you want to give us more of that kind of creation and starting point and ideation of all that?
Yeah, so PizzaDAO came out of Clubhouse. Clubhouse was the seed, I would say, of the NFT scene. In late 2020, early 2021, when the pandemic was happening and everyone was inside, a lot of people got on Clubhouse. And I was on there. I got on in, I think, November, I want to say, of 2020. And there was this rich community of people who were really curious about NFTs and about DAOs and just about crypto. And I was there educating. And Bored Apes came from that Clubhouse scene. Almost every NFT project you can imagine, like all the PFPs came out of that scene. Um, like I would say, like the kind of weave, the tapestry of the space was woven on Clubhouse, and that was where PizzaDAO launched. And PizzaDAO came about because I was watching my neighborhood, and I run this big Facebook group. It has 20,000 members in South Philly, and I was watching the businesses struggle during the pandemic, and thinking like, how can the neighborhood support these businesses in a way that they wouldn't close when
Yeah.
people appreciate them so much, and here they are struggling through the pandemic. And thinking about how value just didn't really, you couldn't demonstrate how much you value your neighborhood, right? You can buy
Yeah.
Apple stock, you can buy Amazon stock, right? You can buy some big companies on the stock exchange, but you can't actually buy into your
Like
neighborhood.
community capital. You can't like put a number on that. You can't like, it's intangible.
And you can't even buy in. Like you couldn't
Yeah.
like
I,
there is no real obvious easy way. Like how would you actually support a local business? You have to make a strong relationship with the owner. You have to figure out some sort of terms.
yeah.
Yeah, I
I guess
mean,
that's a good point.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I would talk about how we needed blockchain accounting systems that were transparent so we could satisfy disclosure regulations and issue tokens and all this nonsense. And people would be like, yeah, okay, whatever. And so I pivoted a little bit and started talking about doing that for pizzerias.
Okay, I see. So that's where the kind of seed and the idea came from. That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, I love that kind of like community starting point. That's kind of where you build that seed for that idea, and like that kind of regenerative movement of blockchain and concept of like being able to actually have that one-to-one relationship with your consumer, or on the other end your, you know, your patron, the person you want to spend money on. You want to know that if you spend $1, $5, $10, that money is A, getting to them, and that be potentially being put to good use. So I think that's such a great way to kind of lean into those local places, especially during the pandemic when it just like is a supply and demand thing where there's just no supply and no one supporting those businesses in that capacity. So no, that's awesome. Do you want to share more of the kind of then from the beginning of Pizza DAO and then how you got to, you know, doing 5 years of pizza parties? You know, and maybe did you start with that idea of that May 22nd on that first day, on the first year?
So yeah, the first year was May 22nd. So there was this strong community on Clubhouse, and I had this idea about a DAO around pizza, and then Hash Masks launched, and they were like a generative art piece, and so we set out to make a generative pizza and signed up 314 artists to each contribute toppings to the pizza.
Yeah.
And we launched them. About a month later, we sold the pizza boxes, and we raised our initial treasury, and then we went from, so it's pretty crazy. We started the community in February, on February 18th.
Yeah.
Then we launched our first NFT March 15th, and then we threw our first global pizza party on May 22nd. So in
Wow.
3 months,
Yeah.
we went from Clubhouse to 300 some pizzerias, because the first year we did a little differently. We didn't do parties. We just went direct to pizzerias and helped them distribute pizza to their community where they thought that it would be appreciated, make a difference.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think there's so many cool pieces to that, right? Because in the span of you, like you said, 2 months, you came from an idea manifested from people's brains into something that was like real in reality. And that's kind of cool that crypto enables that ability to move money that seamlessly, where that something like that is possible, right? Moving money
It was
across
three
the globe.
months to be fair, but yeah, I mean, and
Yeah,
I and
3 months.
think I mean, it's still amazing though.
Yeah.
And I like to think about kind of, if we get a little philosophical about it, right? We can think about how Laszlo turned Bitcoin into pizza, right? And Bitcoin had previously not been turned into anything
Yeah.
really
Anything
tangible,
legal.
right? Like, well, no, even like people weren't necessarily even buying drugs with it at this point. This was 10,000 Bitcoin for two pizzas, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
I guess that's fair.
that's more than $500 million. So um that moment though of being able to exchange some Bitcoin from the metaverse and then turn it into real pizza, right? That's a big moment.
Yeah.
And I think that we fit into that history kind of, Pizza DAO, because we were a moment that a DAO turned energy into, human energy into a real pizza party.
Yeah, no, definitely the first.
But
That's
just
cool.
just like thinking about how we were building
Yeah. Huh.
these concepts, these communities in the metaverse, right? Around like this idea of Bitcoin, and then they come into the tangible world,
Yeah.
right? Like the DAO dream, is that you have an idea and you put it
Yeah,
up
yeah, yeah.
into the
Put a
metaverse, and
proposal.
then
Yeah, and then
boom, it
it
exists.
becomes something, yeah, depending
Yeah.
on the will of the person putting it up. That's cool. No, I think that's such a great moment because you're right. It's that like that was one of those first I guess the first digital transaction from something that's, you know, intangible to pizza. So it's cool to kind of like then be that that continuation of that model, right? And yeah, no, I'm curious to see what this year comes with you know, the sixth year, because you said some awesome stats for last year. Do you want to just repeat, because I heard, I think you said 420 different pizza parties.
Yeah. And this year we're planning to do 500.
Hell
So
yeah.
500 cities. We're going for 20,000 people. So you
That's
got to
awesome.
invite your friends. I
I
know
love
in Maine you're going to drag our average down a little bit, right? We're going
it.
for 40 people a party. Look, if you can hit 20, I would be really impressed.
Amazing. We'll definitely rock that this year. That'd be a nice, a little under a 2x, so we could definitely make that happen.
Yeah, that's I mean that's look, we have high hopes. That's a
No, I
big
think
jump,
uh,
you know?
I think there's a lot of opportunity to educate individuals out here. I'm actually starting to organize a event out here for kind of we have a main artist week and kind of doing a music event kind of tied with that we can kind of bring some of those Web3 sponsors and individuals involved. So we should definitely chat more about that later. But I think there's so many pieces of the crypto and blockchain space that is like bringing some of these moments that are virtual and connections that are virtual IRL. I mean, technically, we met first time IRL, which was really cool. Someone had mentioned you like literally that earlier that day in some conversation. And then meeting you in person, I was like, okay, this is dope. And then learning more about you and just meeting you a couple more times in New York at FarCon was awesome. And it was just a pleasure to kind of then learn more about PizzaDAO. I've been super interested in DAOs and how we can leverage social capital to bring about like and kind of quantize that, right? So I think there's so many cool things that haven't been demonstrated yet with DAOs, like even like that, what you said, like uh, people getting involved in their local communities at a different scale than known before hasn't been able to be like created because it's like everyone's thinking about like how do we scale, how do we do this, how do we do that, but there's like a part of that like the localism movement, right, that's like very focused on how can we like create harmony for this like ecosystem that's here.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we are throwing a pizza party for the whole world, right? So we're so we're thinking about all of these communities and how like pizzerias, at least where I grew up, and I think, and it actually varies from region to region, but they're like community centers. So when we do this party, it's about building this community center for crypto, and then and it's going to grow in different ways in different places, and we're building a trust network fundamentally. So you can go anywhere on earth and look up your local PizzaDAO chapter and meet up. Have a slice, get shown around. It's an amazing resource.
No, 100%. I think that that's super cool. I think, like you said, during the COVID everything, right? Like there's so many pieces to that kind of was challenging at that point. Third places were kind of like diminishing, places like pizzerias and other places that were community centers, places people could go to, and then also people's works were diminishing, and you were kind of locked in on your one place, your home, doing everything from there. So I think anything that kind of supports bringing that out. I mean, I feel like even in 2026 today, we still haven't recovered from that kind of challenging spike of businesses having to be shut down in that period of time. And if it happened again, like who knows how many businesses would after 6 years still not necessarily be as prepared for it. I mean, we're all doing digital things in some capacity, but there's so many like in-person businesses that would just be super challenged. So I think there's so many cool benefits to blockchain, and you guys creating the global pizza party is one of those kind of, like you said, pieces of lore that's going to be shaping the future of how new people interact with this technology. I'm sure that I actually went to the fourth one as well in Portland in Oregon, where I kind of dove into the crypto scene, and I got a lot of my like learnings from going in person, meeting a lot of the people. They were very heavy on the DAO side as well in the regen community, so it was really interesting because that's kind of the community that brought me into the space. I had a lot better of a time of kind of being able to navigate it. Was lucky enough I came in 2022, kind of a couple of months after the bottom of the bear of the NFT market. So not a lot of people there. People that were still there were like people that were pretty passionate about the technology because the price wasn't that hot at that time. So it was really cool because it was just like the perfect time to get my feet wet, especially in just like how the communities were shaped, how these DAOs had been used in different ways, and what different potentials there were that hadn't been tried out yet. Because I think that's kind of the beauty of blockchain is especially with AI, is it's an ever so changing space, and it's like experimental, so you can kind of build whatever you want. Like you said, manifesting, like we're talking about manifesting some idea that you have in your brain and actually kind of bringing that to fruition. That time is getting shorter and shorter, which is really cool. And I think one of the things that really got me way more into the space as a whole, emerging tech and AI, was leveraging AI to even write code, because like I got my electrical engineering degree, but I hated coding. I didn't like the syntax portion of it. I didn't like looking for 30 minutes for a semicolon you forgot. To me, that doesn't make a good use of my
No, I never wanted to do that either.
so like then realizing that there were more ways to kind of leverage that same thought process that goes behind the conceptual side of coding, but not have to worry about as much of the syntax. And it really made for such a better way of interacting with code, from changing it from, any specific language XYZ, learning it from beginning to end, and how it interacts with different things, and going to a more natural language input to infinite outputs, right? So I think it's such a cool time that we're in. I'm curious, like, what do you want to say about like that? Because I know that's like we've talked about the past, now kind of like the present, the sixth party coming up here in 3 months. And what about the future? Where are your predictions? How are you feeling about, I know you said at the beginning you're really excited about being able to just keep on diving in and creating more code and manifesting more things. So I'd love to know your take. We've, in the last, I don't know what month, progressed a lot, but in the last year as well. And just like when I kind of joined, I guess now 2.5 years ago, ChatGPT was kind of like announced. That's where I started like playing around with it all more. And I think that was like one of those emerging moments as well, where they're having a really interesting challenge right now, where like AI companies are struggling in this AI kind of bubble in some sense, right? Where all the other companies that have legacy business models and revenue streams can just be okay with cutting parts of their R&D department, where kind of like OpenAI is most of that. So I'd love to know kind of like, where do you see us going in the future of especially AI coding, and like for non-technical individuals, right? Like in 3 months from now, are you guys going to do like and have different intro to vibe coding, how to bring like computers, bring like Raspberry Pis, literally anything you can bring to like teach someone how to vibe code and create their own app on that day? I think that could be pretty cool. So we'd love to kind of know where you're thinking in this future realm of everything going.
So we are very actively teaching every PizzaDAO member how to use AI tools. Almost every one of our crew calls is using AI tools. We're talking about it on our community call. We had a training session today for vibe coding. Almost every day at PizzaDAO right now is a vibe coding training session, and that's because we have a huge amount of ideas and we have a huge amount of people with passion. We haven't always had the resources or the skill set to turn all of those ideas into software, and suddenly we do.
Yeah.
So it's crazy that now I feel like, when I'm trying to help channel the community's energy, it's now like taking all the ideas and the energy and like fire hosing it into Claude.
Yeah.
It's like a really weird
Yeah,
time.
it's an LLM for your
Yeah.
ideas, right? And the like raw input of this, like you said, community energy.
And then having people to test the stuff that comes out the other end also
Yeah,
is such
that's
a
huge.
huge asset for us. And then having people who will use it once we're done. We launched our RSVP tool, rsv.pizza, actually yesterday. It's taking RSVPs for our ETH Denver event. It's as full featured as Luma, plus it has a bunch of extra features that we like. Makes donations super easy. It mints an NFT on our event partner Monad's chain, because we can just mint on whatever chain we want because we're building it ourselves. We It actually gets every guest pizza preferences and then sums them together as a pizza order, and
Huh.
then calls the pizzeria and places the order,
That's interesting.
and all sorts of other
That's
little,
crazy.
there are some Easter eggs. If you press P or enter on the RSVP page, you'll see some Easter eggs. It's yeah, so that's our first big launch of a tool, and then our other one actually that we launched already is PizzaDAO.org, and that's another big one for us, and that's just everything PizzaDAO. So we've had this whole schematic of our organization live in Google Sheets for more than a year, I think almost 2 years now, and has just an immense amount of data, but it's not that easy for the average person who's curious about what we're doing to just
Mm-hmm.
hop in and say, oh, what's, they have to navigate a bunch of spreadsheets. It's not obvious. It's not user
Yeah.
friendly, but now with PizzaDAO.org, using actually our existing Google Sheets data just as the source, it is way easier to navigate. So someone can go to PizzaDAO.org, onboard to the community, join working groups, see all the tasks that are ongoing, and contribute.
1,000,000%. I love it. I think I was able to here. Let me share my screen here. I was able to do this earlier, so I don't know what it'll look like, but I haven't logged in. So when you go to pizzadao.org, you gotta go to join PizzaDAO, put in your favorite pizza topping and your favorite mafia show. So um, I am Pepperoni Tucker because I'm not a mafia movie person. So I gave my other favorite movie. So we got to generate three names, and since that's taken, we'll go to
Wait,
EX.
you want to be Pepperoni Tucker, like Chris Tucker?
Yeah.
Then you should do Rush Hour.
Well, yeah.
So
So do I
select
do the
Rush Hour.
whole?
Type in Rush Hour.
So the whole movie is what?
And press generate.
Okay.
Okay, and regenerate. I'm sure it'll come up.
Pepperoni Chat is hilarious.
Close. There you go. Oh, you missed it. Oh no. I don't know if it won't
funny.
show it to you again. You're gonna have to refresh. Maybe that's a bug for us. That's hilarious.
but you
sad,
can
I
see.
guess.
Well,
That's
let's
so
just
funny.
we'll just pick one, and then you
Maybe
can see
Pepperoni P.
your bar harbor, and then you got to pick what role you want to play. Super simple, nice and easy, and then your member ID and what different crews. So it's really nice and self-explanatory. You can see that on mobile this would be awesome as well. So I'm excited to kind of play around with this a little bit more. I know you were talking a little bit about how this is more on the open source side, and you want different individuals in PizzaDAO to be able to leverage some of those kind of little code automations to kind of build on top of them, because I think that's a big part of my methodology, where I think there's so many cool things, like you said, that taking that raw input and turning that into positive energy. There's also like the side of being able to do that like straight on a code level, of like taking people's collective energy and turning that into something special as well, whether that's someone building on top of someone else or simultaneously with someone else, right? But then when you do simultaneously with someone else, that communication thing becomes a huge component, right? So yeah, I'm excited to see where we go. And yeah, do you want to rock out and share where we can either what your guys' community meetings are, where we can meet you a little bit more, where we can check out PizzaDAO a little bit more on the social medias?
Yeah, so pizza_DAO on I think all platforms, and discord.pizzadao.xyz to join, where we talk about basically everything that we're doing in the DAO. We have our community calls at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sundays in the Discord. And then we have crew calls, which are like our working groups, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So Monday, Tuesday, we do it 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern. And then Wednesday, 11 to 2. And those are, Monday is ops, tech, and comms. Tuesday is creative and events, I believe. And we might have one other one. Oh, yeah, here we go. It's all on here. Actually, here, I can even show everyone. If you go to pizzadao.org/crews, yeah, that'll have our crew schedule. And that's a great place to just go and see everything we're working on. So there you are.
Amazing.
Yeah, creative and events on Tuesdays. And then we have the Africa Call on Wednesdays in the morning, but then education and biz dev in the afternoon.
Amazing. I
Well,
love it. You guys are cooking, killing it. It's good to check this out. Good to see all the things you've built. I'm excited to like catch your attention and like capture a little bit more about our pizza party here coming up in on the for the sixth annual one here on May 22nd, and just maybe chatting after that and seeing where we're at with everything. Never mind, everything PizzaDAO is doing.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, it's a crazy time. So we're having a lot of fun, honestly. Like
Exactly. That's the best way
planning a
to do
global
it,
pizza
right?
party, it's fun.
And the education piece, right? And continuing to like that's the best thing, doubling down on that, like you said. So if you're out there, make sure you're supporting that education piece. So thanks for popping on Snacks. It was great to have you. Excited to, chat more about this upcoming pizza party.